A lot of you guys have been messaging me with engagement problems, especially in the past few weeks on Instagram. So, happens that a few days ago, the Instagram CEO Adam Mosseri did some Q&A, did some IGTV, and he talked about some things, and we can kind of read between the lines of what's going on and why your content does not get recommended anymore on the Instagram recommendation systems, the Explore page, and the hashtags. Welcome back, my friends. It's actually been a few weeks since I've last uploaded a video. Reason being, I'm moving right now. Currently, I'm in the middle of a move. Yeah, it's kind of a lot of work, a lot more work than I thought. But as the woolly-haired Melanesians of Papua New Guinea once said, anyway, let's talk about some Instagram-related updates, because it happens a few days ago. Instagram CEO Adam Mosseri did some story Q&A, some IGTV video, to shed some light on what's going on behind the scenes of Instagram. And if you actually read between the lines, which I kind of love to do with the Instagram topic, we can actually approximate why a lot of you guys have had some engagement problems in the past few weeks. And anyway, let's quickly skip through what Mosseri said here.
So we announced a Reels tab that we've already launched in the country of India because of how we've seen short-form performative video explode, driven by TikTok and others. And it's why we announced a bunch of updates on the equity front, a dedicated equity team, a revamped verification process, some more new civility features, transparent recommendation guidelines, and more.
Anyway, basically what he says is that things are changing, you know, the world is changing, and they're trying to adapt to those changes. Usually not so bad. Usually it's actually kind of good if you adapt to these changes. A lot of different things, like a revamped verification process. Just a short hint, apparently the follower numbers don't really matter anymore when when getting verified on your Instagram profile. We're gonna talk about that all in different videos, but, and this is the big thing that actually just three little words that mean more than anything else: transparent recommendation guidelines. Whoa, what? We've been waiting for this the whole life, kind of, you know, at least in the past 5 years or something. Now, we all know that Instagram's not the best at telling people what to do, what not to do in order to grow, in order to get recommended. So this was always kind of a shot in the dark of trying to approximate things on how to actually grow. By the way, this is why I've dedicated the past 1.5 to 2 years to actually figuring out how the Instagram algorithm works, how to grow with the Instagram algorithm. And if you're interested in actually that, down below there's a free training where I go over basically a lot of the things, the most important things that I know, that you can use to blow up your Instagram big time without, you know, having to be afraid of shadow bans or without all those weird things. Anyway, I did some digging and I actually figured out a new page inside the Instagram community guidelines called Content That Is Not Shareable. Wow. So let's quickly go over that and kind of consider this as your roadmap on what not to do on Instagram, because this is the first time ever that Instagram actually tells us what content does not get recommended on Instagram. You know, something that we've been wanting all along. Anyway, what are recommendations on Instagram? Basically, you know, the discover feature, you know, so yeah, you know that, you know, where people discover you, where people find you. Basically, this is where you want to be. Like Explore page, accounts you may like, IGTV, you know, discover. I'm pretty sure it's also about hashtags and, you know, some other things. And they talk about some pretty interesting stuff. First of all, what baseline standards does Instagram maintain for its recommendations? At Instagram, we have guidelines that govern what content we recommend to people. Through those guidelines, we work to avoid making recommendations that could be low quality, objectionable, or sensitive. And we also avoid making recommendations that may be inappropriate for younger viewers. Our recommendation guidelines are designed to maintain a higher standard than our community guidelines. Interesting, right? Because recommended content and connections are from accounts you haven't chosen to follow. As always, content that goes against our community guidelines will be removed from Instagram. Now, first of all, you know, just reading this, it's very, very interesting. They've always said, well, shadow banning is not a thing. We don't, you know, this has nothing to do with anything, and we don't do that. We kind of don't filter out content and stuff like this. Well, actually, turns out they always did, like I always said. They're just lying to us. But I guess this is the new 2020 style, whatever. Anyway, one thing that's actually pretty interesting is that the recommendation guidelines are designed to maintain a higher standard than our community guidelines. Now, this could mean something good on paper because obviously there's a lot of bad stuff going on Instagram. But then again, what if the algorithms don't really work? What if there's some mistakes? And what if they hold you up to a higher standard when they in reality shouldn't, because your topic is actually not that bad, but the algorithms just recognize that as, and then you're kind of being, taking away your reach or something like this. This is what I'm kind of wary about because, as well as usually these recommendation algorithms work, sometimes they're prone to errors. That's just life. And we're going to see. Now, the most important thing is content recommendations. There are 5 categories of content that are allowed on our platforms, but that may not be eligible for recommendation. So there's categories that are allowed to be on Instagram, but they won't get recommended. So it's kind of, I don't really get the point, because how are people going to find the content if they're not being recommended? But let's just take a look at what content it actually is. Obviously, okay, it makes sense. Content that discusses self-harm, suicide, or eating disorders. Yeah, obviously you don't want that. You don't want that recommended. Content that may depict violence, people fighting. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that because obviously there's, fighting sports and stuff like this. So I don't know if this thing is part of that or not. Content that may be sexually explicit or suggestive, such as pictures of people in see-through clothing. Content that promotes the use of certain regulated products, such as tobacco or vaping products, or drugs or something like this. Content shared by any non-recommendable account. And this is something really interesting. I kind of read over this when I read through this before. Content shared by any non-recommendable account. So turns out, apparently, you as a content, your account as a whole can be deemed as non-recommendable. Let's probably Alex Jones or some people like that. But who knows? Maybe when you or me, if we did something that's kind of against the grain. And they say, okay, non-recommendable, and if you reshare this, your reach will probably get, compromised as well. So very, very interesting. Now, number 2 is sensitive or low-quality content about health or finance. Content that promotes cosmetic procedures, content containing exaggerated health claims, such as miracle cures. Well, I understand that. Content attempting to sell products or services based on health-related claims, such as promoting a supplement to help a person lose weight. All right. A lot of you people who are on Instagram selling those things are going to have a problem. A content that promotes misleading or deceptive business models, such as payday loans or risk-free investments. This is actually very great because I get spammed so much by people like that. There's so many people trying to sell me stuff, sell people stuff. Thanks a lot, Instagram, for trying to take away those fuck. And now this is where it gets really interesting, where most of us kind of are being touched. First of all, content that includes clickbait. Wow. First of all, what is clickbait? What do they deem as clickbait? We don't know. Engagement bait. Another interesting thing, because what is engagement bait? Maybe even if you say, okay, double tap to like, please reply here, comment this, comment word by word every letter or something like this. This might be engagement bait, which is something that I think. So don't do that. It has to be natural. Basically what I always say, but who am I to tell? Number 3, content that promotes a contest or giveaway. And this is something, wow. We've never had that before. They never talked about that before, that they don't really like contests or giveaway. We're going to talk about what this, if you participate or if you share some giveaways, what that means for your account as a whole in a few seconds. Anyway, another things are content that is associated with low quality publishing, such as unoriginal content that is largely repurposed from another source without adding material value, meaning repost contents. If you just repost your stuff, feature page or stuff like this, you're done, basically. Content from websites that get a disproportionate number of clicks from Instagram versus other places on the web. I have no idea what that means. News content that does not include transparent information about authorship or the publisher's editorial staff. This is what I think is great, because I believe journalism, there's a lot of bad journalism right now out there, and people not sharing their sources and just being weird. So I think that's good. False or misleading content, such as content including claims that have been found false by independent fact checkers or certain expert organizations, which is good in my opinion. But I have seen one or two occasions where these fact checkers were actually wrong. Yeah. Vaccine-related misinformation that has been widely debunked by leading global health organizations. Well, we know that anti-vaxxers. Content that promotes the use of fraudulent documents, such as someone sharing a post about using a fake ID. Okay, very specific, very interesting. And now, closing this thing, very interesting. Account recommendations. We also try not to recommend accounts. Accounts as a whole. For example, you and me. If you, for example, recently violated Instagram's community guidelines. This does not include accounts that we otherwise remove from our platforms So it means even if you might not get removed, you still might get shadow banned because you violate Instagram community guidelines. For example, if a post has been taken down by you or flagged by you, they will take away your reach. We've known that for years. We talk about that. I talk about that in the black file and basically everywhere. Now, at least they man up to it. At least they say, yeah, this is what we do. Repeatedly and or recently shared content we try not to recommend. So this is interesting. Let's say, and this is why usually things like these super viral things, these engagement baiting, clickbaity things. Like I did a video about one of these before about, Instagram is trying to do X and Y. So if people always share this and they try not to recommend this and everybody shares this, you kind of have some repercussions. No. Okay, battery died. I hope we're still here. Repeatedly posted vaccine-related misinformation that has been widely debunked by leading global health, blah, blah, blah. Repeatedly engage in misleading practices to build followings, such as purchasing likes. So, not only this, but I'm sure also engagement groups and stuff like this. If you're in, apparently if you only do it once, they can kind of glance over that. But if you do it more than once, such as purchasing likes and obviously some more things, have been banned from running ads on our platform. That's actually me, my friends. I have been banned multiple times for running ads on their platforms. Not because I did something wrong. I tell you how it is. They just have some very, very harsh algorithms. And things by fact checkers and are associated with offline movements or organizations that are tied to violence. So let's say, what do they say about that? If you're tied to an offline anarchist group that supports violent acts amidst protests, US-based militia organizations, and QAnon, you might not get recommended. Now, this is all obviously very, while I think this is actually, in the essence, a good thing, we're going to have to be really careful because they shape kind of information. We're just going to have to be really careful with that. Obviously, the goofballs and the whack chops, stuff like this, obviously it's okay to ban them, but still, isn't that hard topic? Now, what do you say about that? What do you say about all these things? Do you think these recommendation systems are good, or are they bad, or are they too harsh? Do they kind of even take away from a little bit from freedom of speech? I know freedom of speech only applies to government stuff, but then again, Facebook actually has, or Instagram actually has a reach more than any government could. So I think you could even apply things to that as well. So just let me know in the comments. What do you think about these things? Are you guilty of ever doing one of these things? Maybe this is part of why your engagement has dropped recently, because they've rolled out these new things, because they've done these new things. But obviously there's also more to that. There's more reasons why your engagement could have dropped. We're going to talk about these things in the next video probably. I'm actually still trying to get the internet to run faster here so we can resume our live streams, our weekly live streams here and on TikTok, not the other thing, Twitch. And I'm going back to carrying stuff and building stuff. It won't be another 17 days until you hear from me again, hopefully in a few days. Thanks a lot, my friends, for watching. And like I said, let me know what you think about these new guidelines. I haven't quite made up my mind yet. I'm going to have to make up my mind first, and then I'm going to tell you what my mind exactly is about that, what my opinion is. Anyway, my name is Dominic. Thanks a lot. Goodbye. I have to go do some physical work, which is awful. Bye. Bye.